The negative aspect or the depressing element of politics and CDN-NDG is that people don't vote.
Yeah.
So because people don't vote, you have a very small group of people who basically decide who wins the election. And these are the people who don't like me because I don't like them, because really they're hijacking the democratic system and they're fine with that. And I'm not. And I think this is a big problem internationally. We've seen kind of like, people are starting to ask the question, right? What's happening to liberal democracies all over the world? Where did these people like Trump show up? Why are we having identity politics showing up? It's, we're really at a crossroads in terms of democracy. And it's like people, I don't know what people, I guess my wife feels that people have turned themselves off from politics because it's just, they feel it's a wasted exercise. And that's unfortunate. And also politics has a bad name. And that kind of, I studied politics, and life is politics, right? We turn on the water. There was politics that was involved in bringing water to the house. In fact, the water meter contract was a source of, corruption, political corruption in the city, garbage collections, political. And people say, oh, I don't want to talk about politics. How can you not talk about politics? It's everywhere.
I think it's
everywhere.
Because I mean, my experience with people in these kinds of subjects is like this.
Right.
If you don't understand it and you don't understand how you can be involved in it, it's just stress. I mean,
I agree. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, why don't we understand it? Because our elected representatives don't want us to understand it. Because if we understood it, people would be engaged. They'd be asking questions. They don't want people asking questions.
I think also like Quebec,
yes?
Since I've been an adult, right? Like,
right.
Quebec politics has never been about anything. Like, I look at the election issues, right? And it's language and immigration almost exclusively. Sometimes an education gets thrown in. I'm like, it's weird. Nobody in Quebec talks about economy, really.
Quebec politics. Yeah, I agree. Quebec politics is taken hostage over like language, cultural issues.
I mean,
and identity politics.
It extends to like here, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I look at it like. Then you get to the other side of it. So one thing is the issues that ever get discussed are weird. The other side of it is like, it's corrupt and it's confusing. But like, I didn't really understand how the Montreal electoral system worked. The website's atrociously bad, by the way. The city of Montreal has a very bad website.
I agree. Try to navigate the urban planning department's website. It's gotten better of late, but it's just horrible. It's horrendous. They basically want you to figure things out yourself. Yeah, I agree.
But then you like reach this situation where it gets abstract and people talk about housing crises and whatnot. And I guess people don't fully understand the levels of government. I went to cadets, so I got explained levels of government via cadets, and I appreciate them for that. And there's a lot of confusion between stuff. Even in sometimes the questions I've seen when I said, do y'all have questions? I'm like, that's not really a Montreal question. I'm like, I don't know if the mayor of the city councilor can help you with this abstract. And I don't mean like something like the Montreal city state one. I mean, I've seen some abstract, like, that's federal, right? Like level of questions that come in sometimes, and you're like, so I don't think people understand the system a lot.
I don't blame people. I don't just blame people for that. I blame our MPs and our MNAs for that, because they're not accessible.
That's true. I tried to tweet at Mark Garneau a couple of times and he didn't answer me. But
they're not accessible. And we have a question period at the municipal level. So that's the only public forum we currently have on the local political level for people to express their opinions on a variety of subjects. Yeah. And I could go on with that. And our councillors and our mayors discuss issues that they're outside the city's mandate. And they do that. It's very simple, because they can make themselves look good by giant bandwagging on these like feel good issues.
What's an issue that's outside the city mandate?
For example, food, healthy foods, choices people. That's a federal issue. That's a provincial issue. It's not a city mandate. What's another thing that's not in the city mandate? Here's another one. The price of houses. The price of houses, affordable housing is a big, big problem. But the city's powers to deal with that problem are extremely limited. Extremely limited. This is about national interest rate policy. This has to do with it's not just Montreal. This is happening North American wide with the quick rise of home prices. You're talking about speculation that's happening. The city's capacity to really have an impact in that domain is extremely limited. It's not something the city really can have a big impact on. And the other big problem right now internationally, and I don't want to talk a lot about it because it's not about the city, is that people are over leveraged. They're too much debt, and people become addicted on cheap financing, and that can't continue. It's a big problem. So what's another issue? Social housing to a certain degree. When Balarama Wholeness and Valerie Plante are making their big, massive promises, 50,000 units, 60,000 units, all dependent upon provincial funding. And that's the beauty, right? So they can make that promise, right? And then if the provincial government doesn't come through, they go, "Oh, it's not my fault. I made that promise, but the government didn't give me the money." Like, well, you should have made that promise in the begin with. And I'll tell you, I've been involved in I think 4 municipal elections now, and every election, social housing comes up. Social housing. It's not a
What about
it's not a new
the
issue.
of condos versus social affordable housing? Is that more of a city issue?
Well, the city can encourage the construction development of rental units, and it can do things like prevent conversions of existing houses to condos or co-proprietorships to maintain the rental stock. So there is a role they can play there. Yes, they have a capacity to act in the sense if they issue permits, so they can control what is being built. But the problem is that the construction sector, and I know I'm in the construction sector, and I say this, I don't do any new construction. I'm a renovator. I work on older homes. I'm a renovator restorer. So I have nothing to gain or no interest in condo development. But condo development is very important to cities because what it does is it improves, it increases densification. So if you have more people living in a smaller area, it's a lot cheaper for the city to service this group because for public transportation, it's a much larger, dense population. In terms of investments in infrastructure, it becomes that math starts to make a lot more sense, and the tax base exists to do it. If you have people spread out over a massive territory, it becomes very expensive to support public transportation systems to transport people over long extended commutes, especially if you're servicing towns like 5,000 people or something like that. So, but Laval got its metro station, right? That's like, if you do the math on the Laval metro station, it doesn't make any sense. But they got it because Laval has political clout. It has more political clout than Montreal does. Remember, that was Vaillant Carland. He's the one who got caught with very, very corrupt. It's incredible what happened in Laval. It really another example of just like the rampant corruption that is part of Quebec's history. It's an unfortunate history of Quebec. Yeah.
That's fair. I was honestly appreciative of that metro because it's made me going to Laval a lot easier when those few times I had to. But I've never looked at the economics of how it got done and who paid for it and all that good stuff.
It's the money. Like, would we have been better served by extending the blue line? I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I think the money would have been better spent there. Now, remember, investments in infrastructure in Quebec don't necessarily mean that they make sense. They make sense because they're, trying to, in many instances, they're designed to win favor, win votes, and there are definitely a lot of political considerations. Just look at our investment budget, which sucks. So as it goes with the central city, when it comes to political considerations, CDN-NDG is always getting shortchanged, right? I could use stronger language, but I don't know.
That's fair.
Are children listening to this program?
There's not a universe where a child is like, let's go listen to the municipal politics.